It's okay, I'm going home now, call me right away if there's anything you need to report. Lim Chulho then left the office. At this time, Shin Young-woo was working part-time. But going to work like a lost soul got you reprimanded. Mr. Shin Young-woo, Mr. Shin Young-woo, hey, Mr. Shin Young-woo. Until someone else shook you again. He was calling you all this time. Go get your salary quickly. Looking at you sitting absent-mindedly made the boss uncomfortable. Do it quickly and go home, brat. Seeing that, Young-woo was startled and quickly stood up. Oh yes, I'm sorry. The people around him gathered to say bad things. I heard he was seriously addicted to games. No wonder you look so effeminate. But it doesn't seem like he can do anything. People say even a child is better than him. At such a young age it's all ruined. Taking a few of his meager wages, he went out to the park to sit, looking at the money in his hand, thinking that he had enough games. But suddenly those words just now appeared in Young-woo's mind. All day long he only thought about loading the game. You should be ashamed of yourself. Young-woo was dissatisfied. He looked up at the sky and lamented, I was planning to sell items to get money and live a little better, but it cost me hundreds of millions. I'm so close to success but still can't grasp it. I'm so incompetent, and I've dropped to -1 from level 37. At this moment, a luxury car passed him. That car belonged to Chairman Lim Chul-ho. He had just left the office and returned home. He was driving while thinking about M's. Choi's words. I don't see that player as having any value. That may be true. But I thought that was his greatest strength, until he realized that. Young-woo still hasn't come home yet. He just sits there scratching his head, complaining, I guess I have to find another way, at least I can do it. Is there really nothing else I can do? Hey, just leave her alone. Now go play a game to relieve stress. Lim Chulho sitting in the car was smiling at this moment. His perseverance was so amazing. Shin Young-woo sat in the game console and said, let's try again, even if I've lost everything, at least I should check out the new class. As long as the machine is working, we'll be fine, I'm counting on you. Saying that, he thought to himself, I will do everything I can to earn money. Very soon the game is connecting to the land of Satisfy. Soon Shin Young-woo was transferred to this land. Looking at the barren landscape here, he wondered, where is this? It doesn't look like the cave from yesterday. I got kicked out of town. At this moment, Shin Young-woo did not have any equipment on his body. He lifted his feet and walked forward, looking around and muttering, I have been plowing in Patreon for so long. I just betrayed a little and was chased away. It's too much to go. I have to quickly determine the new location. While talking about this, Shin Young-woo's eyes suddenly noticed a mountain in the distance. Shin Young-woo immediately rushed forward. He cautiously went inside, only to see a group of people dressed in extremely strange clothes surrounding a girl. Seeing this scene, he wondered suspiciously, what the heck, why is this place so dark? Having just said this, the system has displayed a new notification. You have entered Yatan Temple. Hearing this announcement, Shin Young-woo pursed his lips and thought, the temples are usually at level 150, I'm sorry. Thinking so, he immediately reread his current level, character name, grid, negative level 1, profession, Pagma's successor, title, bearer of a legendary mission. The health threshold does not exceed 200%, the movement speed is reduced by 100%, the use of skills is limited, and the rate of receiving weakening control effects becomes extremely high. Looking at this information, Shin Young-woo angrily scolded, what kind of nonsense index is this? I actually leveled -1, so this is not an error. Speaking of which, he suddenly stopped, glanced at the skills below, such as the rate of having additional effects when creating items increased, the success rate when enhancing equipment increased, you can equip everything, optional item, but equipment may have its power reduced depending on the level of difference with the character, the rate of gaining fame points increases and the amount received increases sharply, the success rate of enchantment increases and the amount received increase. After reading these lines, Shin Young-woo nodded with satisfaction and continued, but these extras look delicious, I can use the enhancement skills to make money, how about I try it? Looking at the equipment on my body. Shin Young-woo exclaimed in surprise, wow, I can wear the level 60 items I was planning to sell, even though they require 200 strength points to wear. But in return the power has been reduced, system notification with the content, applied nerf due to unmet equipment conditions, Mammon's Greatsword, attack power reduced by 30% and side effects reduced by 50%, Armor of Mengel, defense is reduced by 20% and side effects are reduced by 50%, reading all this information, Shin Young-woo said cautiously, but Mammon's Great Sword has an attack power of 200 and Mengel's armor has a defense of 130, Usually level 1 equipment will have an index of around 10, which means I'm 10 times stronger than them, time. Analyzing once like that, he happily thought to himself, ho ho, legendary class is different, I love you, I'm the happiest guy here. While thinking about this, Shin Young-woo's whole body suddenly stopped, his eyebrows furrowed tightly. I thought, sweating, but wait, isn't this a dungeon of level 150, meaning there are also monster camps of similar levels around here, what's with this weird situation? Looking at the people inside the temple, Shin Young-woo silently pondered. If this is a Yatan temple, then those guys are Yatan believers, right? Are they doing a sacrificial ritual? Wandering around here is like committing suicide. If you accidentally meet a guy, daisies will immediately bloom. Just get out of here right now, I'll be safe. Having just muttered this, suddenly a hand was placed firmly on Shin Young-woo's shoulder, causing him to freeze on the spot. Shin Young-woo reacted very quickly and immediately raised his sword and made a strong swipe backwards. The person behind Shin Young-woo stepped back a bit and then burst out laughing. Then slowly said, calm down, boy, swinging your sword like that might kill someone. I'm Count Stime's secret bodyguard, my name is Duran, from the way you look around, I'm probably not on their side. After knowing that the other person was not an enemy, the two immediately exchanged some information. After listening, Shin Young-woo cautiously looked towards the girl lying on the altar, hesitantly speaking, that girl is Count Stime's daughter, Irene. Duran nodded and replied, yes, perhaps while I was on leave she was kidnapped. This is a difficult situation, I would be happy to have your help. Hearing this, Shin Young-woo was startled and exclaimed, ha, that is. While talking about this, the system suddenly popped up a new mission for Shin Young-woo, rescue the Count's daughter, S rank, rescue Irene within 1 hour, reward, 3,000 gold, the reward is billions, low salary, became son-in-law of an earl, failed, -2 levels. After reading this mission once, Shin Young-woo gritted his teeth and cursed silently, fuck, another S-rank mission, is this guy an NPC? At this moment, Duran next to him glanced at Shin Young-woo and then spoke up in doubt, usually people who come here are affected by a state of fear, but not you must be very strong. Hearing that, Shin Young-woo asked confusedly, is this place like that? Asking that, he looked down at his hand, not daring to believe it and thinking, there's no way a weak guy like me can be strong again, do I have any other skills? Apparently, thanks to the calmness point, this stat point cannot be added straight, has the effect of reducing the possibility of being affected by a negative effect and quickly recovering if hit. Shin Young-woo thinks he should quickly learn more about the characteristics of this class. Thinking for a while, Duran suddenly turned around and smiled and said, thinking that you will help me in this mission, thank you for accepting the offer. Shin Young-woo heard that and calmly replied, I don't like doing that. Duran was stunned for a moment, then without paying much attention said, let's do it. Shin Young-woo firmly refused and then turned away. Seeing that he was about to run, Duran quickly stopped him and asked, wait, don't tell me you'll force me to face the dark magicians alone. Shin Young-woo shrugged and said calmly, who knows anything? Saying that, he frowned and thought, 3,000 gold is nice, but I also became like this because of doing an S-class mission, so don't be stupid to admit it. Duran by his side still did not give up and continued to persuade, but he was a super strong hero who could resist the pressure from the temple. Without him, the rescue would be lost, help him. Shin Young-woo angrily turned around and shouted loudly, I was lucky to avoid the effect, I am negative level 1, if I fail I will go down to negative level 3. Duran did not listen to these words at all, but still begged, please help him, the princess's life is in danger. Hearing that, Shin Young-woo immediately replied, so my life isn't in danger, don't bother me anymore. Duran refused to let go and continued to say, don't lie, I know you are very strong. Talking about this. On the side of the altar, suddenly a person fell down, fresh blood flowed from this person's head profusely. At this moment, the system notification rang again, accepting the mission to rescue the Count's daughter, S level. Hearing this notification, Shin Young-woo gritted his teeth and exclaimed, what, why? Duran who was next to him heard Shin Young-woo's question and frowned seriously and said, because you killed the Yatan people, now we have developed a comradeship. Shin Young-woo shouted angrily, bouncing his butt. Duran didn't care much, he continued to say, their enemies are a bunch of fanatical apostles who regularly sacrifice people, they have surrounded the sacrificial table so it won't be easy for us to get past. Fate is inevitable, we only have to love each other to live, I will clear the way, and you will save the princess. On the other side, the Yatan fanatics discovered two people, Shin Young-woo and Duran. One of them shouted an order, they killed a follower of Almighty Lord Yatan, kill them. Looking at a group of people rushing towards him, Shin Young-woo stood behind Duran and said a little tremblingly, "There are too many of them, good." Looking at the group of Yatan fanatics rushing towards him, Shin Young-woo thought in horror, even if he was fully equipped, his fighting power was still limited to the level of a third-level player. They tapped lightly, baby died immediately. Damn, does she have to go on the board to count stars? On the opposite side, the leader of the Yatan fanatics clutched his weapon in his hand, looked at Duran and shouted loudly, "Heretic, kill him!" Duran reacted very quickly. Holding several flying knives in his hands, he threw them hard at that group of fanatics. Beat them to the left and right. Fresh blood splashed all over the ground. Seeing this scene, Shin Young-woo sweated and thought, wow, in such a narrow space, the uncle moves so quickly and skillfully, he has a chance to live. While thinking about this, another group of fanatics rushed out from behind him. They rushed forward and shouted, "Heretics, kill them!" Seeing this situation, Shin Young-woo cried out with a black face, he was wrong. Duran next to him also felt bad. He turned his head slightly and said, "If you keep fighting like this, you won't get anywhere. You think so too, right?" Hearing this question, Shin Young-woo shook his head and said, "I don't." Before he could finish his sentence, Duran reached out and pushed Shin Young-woo once and said softly, he knew he was planning to launch a move to kill everyone. When Shin Young-woo was pushed to the front line, he was so scared that he couldn't say anything. Duran saw that he was still standing there, then lifted his leg and kicked him forward. Shin Young-woo couldn't help but scream in terror, "I'm still young, I don't want to die." Seeing that the opponent was about to fall face down on the ground, Duran quickly raised his hand to create a spell and then shouted loudly. Shin Young-woo's whole body immediately stopped and floated above the ground. Duran came to stand next to Shin Young-woo and slowly explained, "It is a simple magic to protect us when falling from a high place. You probably know that already, right?" Shin Young-woo didn't know. He was annoyed and scolded, "Heck, why don't you use any magic to trust other people's words?" After scolding him, he immediately stood up. After stabilizing his body, Shin Young-woo patted his chest, exhaled a breath and gratefully said, "Thank you." Finally able to breathe, Duran, who was next to him, heard that and replied indifferently, instead of thanking him, "Why don't you go all out from now on? Because now is the time to fight." Hearing these words, Shin Young-woo immediately turned around and followed Duran's line of sight, only to see Princess Irene being placed on the altar, and the surrounding Yatan fanatics were mumbling and chastising the group, "Heresy with magic, oh spirits of hell, bring your resentment here." Seeing this situation, Shin Young-woo frowned and asked, "What magic are they doing?" Standing in front, Duran is neither fast nor slow, speaks black magic, and is also unpleasant to handle, but do you think I will leave it alone? As soon as he said this, he immediately waved his hand. Countless throwing knives shot straight from his hand towards the Yatan followers, causing them to stagger and stagger, splashing blood. Seeing that the situation was not good, a Yatan follower immediately shouted, "TSK, he is killing my mage. Children of Yatan, buy me time, we will destroy the heretics." Looking at the scene ahead, Shin Young-woo stood behind and thought to himself, each of them must be around level 150, yet the uncle is facing it alone. Duran, you are amazing. I can pass this quest only thanks to NPCs, so what I can do is cheer. Thinking like that, Shin Young-woo immediately raised his hands high and shouted loudly, "Come on, Duran, my sunshine, my hope." Hearing that, Duran was speechless and didn't know what to say. At this moment, at the altar, a layer of powerful magic erupted, followed by the majestic shouts of the fanatics, "Destroy your mind, forget your will, become my puppet." Hearing these words, Duran exclaimed in horror, "Damn, are they done?" Behind him, looking at this scene, Shin Young-woo thought embarrassedly, "Guys, I actually want to join Yatan." On the other side, a believer suddenly raised his head and laughed loudly, "Ha ha ha, this is the end for you heretics, and now I will." Before he could finish his sentence, a terrifying power erupted around Duran's body. He spread his arms and shouted loudly, "I, Duran, Steim's Shadow, respectfully swear that he will complete his duties as a family guard." As soon as these words ended, Duran's fists were strongly raised and punched forward. Shin Young-woo saw this and thought in horror, the uncle had repelled the black magic. Could it be that the uncle was an NPC with a name? The group of fanatics felt a terrible force coming towards them and exclaimed in disbelief, "How is this possible?" Preparing the spell again. How could Duran let them turn on him so easily? He swung his throwing knife and shouted loudly, "How dare the cultists harm the Steim family? Don't even dream about that." Seeing countless sharp flying knives rushing towards him, This group of fanatics quickly raised their hands to create a protective shield. This layer of defense was extremely strong, repelling all of Duran's flying knives. When he saw that, he widened his eyes in suspicion and said, "A shield." Having just said this, a cold voice suddenly rang out in the space here, "Today you are lucky." Hearing this sound, Shin Young-woo suddenly stopped for a moment. He turned his head towards the source of the sound, only to see a woman holding a staff in her hand, slowly walking out from a hidden corner. She glanced at Shin Young-woo once and then continued speaking slowly, "But it was worth it. Unfortunately you have to give up. My S-rank mission is to protect this ritual. But facing an NPC with a name like Duran makes me feel excited. Are you worthy to be my Yura's opponent?" The person who just appeared has the id Yura, nicknamed the Blood Witch. She is a Korean player who holds the top position in the Dark Mage rankings, as well as 5th place in the overall rankings. She is also a celebrity who often appears on television, thanks to her beautiful beauty and outstanding ability. Thanks to her superior senses and skillful control, she can combine various types of magic together, surpassing the limits of a dark magician. What is she doing here? Type of magic together, surpassing the limits of a dark magician. What is she doing here? On the opposite side, Yura raised his staff, smirked and said, "I never thought I would have to face Duran on a mission to hinder intruders. How interesting." As soon as these words finished, powerful streams of blood magic roared out to attack Shin Young-woo and Duran, causing the two of them to constantly dodge. Yura leisurely stood in one place, glanced at Shin Young-woo and asked, "So you are the one who activated the S-level mission?" Hearing that, Shin Young-woo was filled with doubt. He remained silent and said nothing. Yura didn't bother to pay attention to his attitude. She continued to say, "This is the only place where we can practice new skills without fear of being punished. The media looked at you, you really surprised me. But only with Mengel armor and Mammon sword, and level 80 is it too difficult?" Hearing these words from Yura, Shin Young-woo tightly grasped the Mammon sword in his hand. He thought to himself, "She guessed my level wrong, but the ranking people are really scary. However, I still have." Thinking of this, Shin Young-woo immediately glanced at Duran standing next to him, smirked and said to Yura, Don't tremble after listening. This Uncle Duran is an NPC with a name. Even if you're a ranked person, you'll still lose." Hearing these words, Yura's body erupted with a thick layer of demonic blood. She gritted her teeth and said, "I was planning on making you my opponent. Let's celebrate our 230 level milestone." Duran was too lazy to listen to the other person's words. He tightly grasped the throwing knife in his hand and rushed forward while shouting, "Come on, warrior." Seeing this scene, Shin Young-woo cried out in panic 2 times. Duran replied coldly, "If you just stand still you won't be able to do anything. Just by moving forward. Only we can win this battle." As soon as these words finished, a powerful stream of magic flared up around Duran's body and then shot straight towards where Yura was standing. Yura also quickly raised her hand to block this attack. She faintly said, "It's true, your actions are equivalent to an NPC who has upgraded his class for the 3rd time, but you are not my type. Don't fly around in front of me anymore." As soon as her words stopped, Duran's legs seemed to be pinned down, completely unable to move. But he soon escaped Yura's control, once again jumped up and shouted contemptuously, "It's no use, try this." As soon as these words came out, a sharp flying knife in Duran's hand rushed forward at an incredible speed. Yura didn't show any signs of fear. She leisurely swung her staff to block Duran's attack and said, "Even though you're tired by now, it's still impressive." Duran heard this provocation and replied coldly, "I still have enough strength to take down this thing." Before he could finish his sentence, an amazing stream of magic fell on his head. He exclaimed in horror, "Is this magic attack?" Yura opened her hand. Magic continuously poured out from her palm. She glanced at Duran, said with disdain, "You can thank me. Your body feels light after I drain your blood." As soon as these words came out, Duran's body seemed to be punctured. Fresh blood rushed out and flowed strongly into Yura's palm. Duran cried out in pain. Seeing this scene, Shin Young-woo's sweat dropped and thought, "This is too bad. At this rate my uncle will die. If you die then I will die too." While thinking about this, Yura on the opposite side suddenly laughed and continued, "This is a high-level skill that consumes 30% of my mana. With it you will." Before he could finish his sentence, Duran, who was still weak just now, suddenly burst into golden magic around his body. He raised his hand. On his finger was a ring radiating amazing power. He said in a harsh voice, "You are too arrogant, young dark witch. Let me show you the power that has protected the family for hundreds of people, this year." As soon as she saw the ring on the other person's hand, Yura cried out in horror, "You forcibly cancelled a level 220 spell." Shin Young-woo was also worried and asked, are you okay? What happened? Duran looked at the ring in his hand, raised his eyebrows and replied, thanks to this ring, it activates itself at times of danger. Its effect is to purify the curse and restore health. Hearing the use of the ring, Shin Young-woo said greedily, give it to me. Hearing that, Duran turned around and said in disgust, if you don't do it, don't ask for food. Having said that, he immediately looked at Yura, then said seriously, but it won't help me become immortal, I have to hurry up, fight with me warrior. As soon as these words ended, Duran once again waved his hand. Countless sharp throwing knives were released by him and rushed straight towards Yura. Looking at this scene, she gritted her teeth and thought, he is stronger than she thought. Even if I have a last resort, I have no choice but to use it. So what about that stupid guy over there? But what can a low-ranking guy do just by threatening him and making him pee? The stupid Shin Young-woo was still standing there trembling. Suddenly he noticed that the group of fanatical followers of Yatan who had just been beaten to death suddenly revived and stood up. Seeing this scene, Shin Young-woo exclaimed in horror, Uncle Duran, the fanatics have revived. Hearing these words, Yura cursed in disgust, pathetic guy, how long is he going to hang on to NPCs to do missions? Now is the time. After scolding, she raised her staff high and cleared her throat to shout loudly, O great Lord of Darkness, or spread fear and suffering into the hearts of enemies and release power. Duran, I'll end this now, the ultimate attack is charged with all mana. Black wind. As soon as these words finished, Yura's amazing magic power roared towards the two people Shin Young-woo and Duran were standing. Looking at this scene, Duran thought to himself in horror, I will, in the Yatan Palace, a bright red light shined like blood. Right at this critical moment, Shin Young-woo suddenly rushed forward to block Duran's body. Yatan Temple made a loud shaking sound, smoke and dust covered the whole place. Leaning down on the staff, Yura said suspiciously, don't tell me this attack will knock down the entire temple, but I've used all my strength, there's no way they can survive. Before he could finish his sentence, the silhouettes of Shin Young-woo and Duran appeared right in front of Yura. Seeing this scene, she couldn't believe it and thought, he received a direct hit and was completely unscathed. There's no way I wouldn't know a player like that, this guy, who is he? After Yura's blow, Shin Young-woo was still standing there without the slightest bit of damage. Looking at his health bar, Shin Young-woo thought in horror, I only have 1 health left, even with that attack. As soon as he sadly thought about this, his eyes suddenly opened wide and glowed. He silently exclaimed, that's right, survival, when your health drops to its lowest level, you will negate all damage for 5 seconds. Shin Young-woo smiled happily and thought, the baby is still alive. On the opposite side, Yura couldn't believe it and thought to herself, what is he? Isn't it just level 80, still? Laugh again, there's no way I wouldn't know a player like that, this guy, who is he? There's no way I wouldn't know a player like that, this guy, who is he? At this moment, Duran suddenly jumped on Shin Young-woo's back and used his strength to fly up. He opened his mouth and shouted loudly, I already told you. You must step forward to win. Yura quickly regained her lost expression. She gritted her teeth and raised her hand to shoot out a stream of magic, saying contemptuously, ha, this is your final death blow, don't look down on me. Crystal shield. Looking at the shield that was gradually forming in front of him, Duran scolded softly, damn it, she can still use her moves. But that was just an appearance. Yura had already reached her limit at this point. She told herself to quickly resolve everything before it was too late. But nothing has been resolved yet. Shin Young-woo in front of him suddenly disappeared. Yura's eyes widened in surprise. He just exited the game, but he still stood there watching even though he was that strong. Who exactly is this guy? In the real world, Shin Young-woo opened his eyes and exited the game. The current level is -3. You will not be able to log into the game for the next 12 hours because you have died twice in a row in 20 hours. Remembering the step on Duran's back just now, Shin Young-woo scolded in pain. I was killed by my teammates, Duran, you bastard.